That's coming in chapter 2?
That's
okay,
still
good.
there.
That's in
Okay.
chapter 2. It's
That's
still
good,
there.
good.
I couldn't get rid of that. I'd sooner cut off a finger.
Fair enough. Understandable.
In the vein of C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien meeting at the Eagle and Child, this is the Broodcast, Inkling-style Discord chat, last Friday of every month. To join our ranks of writers and artists, please visit joshuadavidling.com/brood. And now, the Broodcast on the Poets at War Creative Network.
We're lying, witch and warning, yeah. Our imaginations run wild and free in middle of Narnia. There's magic in what we believe.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Awesome.
I just had to do the good old-fashioned turn on and off again. Or off and on again.
I got you.
Where'd Aaron disappear to?
I don't know. He just left for some reason. Marty is here too. He just hasn't said anything, so.
Marty,
I am recording his book for Amazon. He wrote a cool Civil War historical fiction. So yeah, that's
Okay.
just
Nice.
he joined the Brood, thought it was cool. So he's up in Washington area. Nice guy. So
well, nice to meet you if you can hear me.
let's see here. And I'm trying some new things as far as all of my setup stuff tonight. One of the things that's different, I specifically put together a system for the, what is it called? Basically like it switches cameras now in a much larger screen instead of just having everybody all on screen in equal size at the same time. It shows everyone kind of in miniature at the bottom and then like one big one of whoever's actively talking. So that's cool. Also,
Neat.
Spank that horse, Brendan.
Yep, I have the
Oh
soundboard.
no!
You always react to that one. Oh boy.
I'm gonna go bathe my hearing aids in holy water now. Oh my goodness! Where did that even come up?
It was beating a dead horse, and someone, Brendan said, "I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I wanted him to keep talking, so I said, spank that horse, Brendan."
Oh no! Thank you.
I thought it was
so
funny.
bad. It's so bad.
So you prefer
that
this
sounds
one?
like
Soapbox!
There it is.
Yeah.
Soapbox!
Well, I mean, after hearing the other one, that one's just really tame. It kind of felt like drinking something like something really, really sweet, like sweet tea, and then going back to water.
Mm-hmm. Hey there, Grim to be. What's up, man?
Hello?
At this moment, not a giant amount. It's been a busy day, though.
I figured as
Well,
much.
I mean, that's... Yeah,
The Brood
you
was-
got 8 days for the wedding. So yeah. The Brood was popping off. And Luna
Yeah,
tried to steal your girl.
Yeah, I didn't. I wasn't able to keep track of anything that was going on in the Brood.
Yep. Luna came in and was being all crazy. So
Yep,
Mhm.
that is her MO.
that is on brand. Oh, just so you three know, because y'all might actually utilize it. In the soundboard now, I have this sound, which is just for clips.
Oh, I like it.
It spikes it actually plays in, at least when I push it, maybe not when you push it, but it spikes in the sound wave file so that I can see, I can see it when I look for it to look for clips. Yeah.
I just clicked it. Did that spike it?
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, as spiked as it's going to be from Discord, I have a limiter on it, but it's enough to where I think I'll be able to see it in the waveform. Also, I figured out how to get camera switching and grid and strip view working instead of the grid view.
Awesome.
Yep, I had to create a separate source for my webcam that is microphone activated. So when I start speaking, it just overlays my webcam over everybody else because it won't switch to mine unless I'm the only webcam. Does that make sense?
Interesting. Yeah.
So there'll always be a face, and it will be the one talking if you have a webcam. So that's good.
Cool. Do you want to see the living room?
Yes, I want to see the living room.
So, here's the couch. You've seen this before.
Actually, I may have to switch some of these manually, but okay. That's okay. I can do. Hello, Marty.
All the walls are painted.
Doing
Hello,
all
sir.
Hello, nice to meet you. I watched.
Nice
some
to
of your
meet you as well.
broadcasts, but I haven't joined before, so I thought I'd try to find the time and join in with the fun.
Cool. Good to meet you.
Yeah, very cool. Nice to meet you.
It's looking great, Alex. Alex is getting married, and he's the one that I'm actually going to Oklahoma to see for his wedding. So he was just showing us the house that he's been fixing up and we'll be staying in. So very cool. All right.
Yep. Got a lot done today. Got that finished up painting. Finally got gas.
Very nice.
So-
Very nice.
Daniel, you'll be able to cook stuff.
No, he's
Yeah.
cooking with gas. Me.
Okay. I'll make sure to
Bunch of
bring my big
drywall
old
up.
thing. If I'm ever cooking with gas, I always have a big old thing of baking soda right next to my. Oh, look. Hey, Marty. We're matching. We're matching.
Hearing aids.
Oh, you have
I
hearing
wear
aids?
hearing aids as well. Yeah.
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 They make a big difference. Without
Oh,
the
yeah,
hearing
they do.
to a wall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been
All
working
right.
on a festival this weekend. There's a Blackberry
Festival?
festival going on in the local area. We're going to try to sell some books. Local authors group. So
Nice.
it's fun.
Very cool.
Very, very cool.
All right.
And that would be my brother Aaron.
Aaron's here.
Hey,
Got
Aaron.
about 5 minutes till official start, so we'll wait around just a little bit, but not too
Hey.
much.
Yeah. By the way, Joshua, you said you talked to Scott.
I did for like an hour today.
What did you
Nice.
think of him?
He's cool. He's a standard
Isn't he?
CREC kind of guy.
Yep.
So we had a good talk about all the, basically we covered 90% of federal vision and my very slight differences and stuff. And it was good.
Yeah.
Aaron.
That sounds about right. Did he ask you if you believed in baptismal regeneration?
No, we didn't touch baptismal regeneration.
Okay, he'll ask you if you believe in baptismal regeneration at some point in time. I
Oh, of
guarantee
course he
it.
will. Of course he will. Oh boy.
Do you guys see my video at all?
I do
Nope.
not see your video, Aaron.
Guess I cannot turn it on for some weird reason.
You might want to check your settings and make sure
Settings?
that the webcam is chosen.
I don't see any video settings, just voice settings.
That's
well,
weird.
that could
You
be a
should be able
problem.
to.
User settings, and
Oh,
then
it
go
says voice and video
to
now.
voice and video. Yeah. Make
I think
sure
you
that,
found it. You just gotta
drop
play around
down.
with your settings.
yeah. do.
No, it really doesn't have video settings.
What's on the agenda today?
Well, people bring what they want to bring to read, and basically we just kind of see who wants to go next, and we read and critique and talk and laugh, and usually there's a lot of jokes and stuff in between. That's pretty much usually how it goes. So I
So it's
think
kind
I
of
have
a
something.
little.
Mhm. Go ahead.
It's our little just kind of digital writing club. Like everybody brings their own little short stories or books they're working on or poems at times, all kinds of stuff. We all just take turns. And that's my
Our,
Aaron. Aaron, you're driving me nuts.
Just ignore me.
our
Okay.
local book club wants to write everybody to write a short story about Kitsap County. That's the county we live in. And then we're going to compile all the little short stories in a little book and try to sell it at these events. So need to come up with a good idea for a good story for the area.
Very cool.
Dig into the history a little bit and see if there's something fun to write about.
Yeah. I like that's one thing we haven't had as much in this group is historical fiction. I wanted to have more of it. I'm always interested in that sort of thing. You know me, you've heard me talk about your stuff and I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, I think historical fiction is just as interesting as fantasy if done right. It's really fun.
Oh.
But let's see, was it time? It's about 2 minutes. We might have more pop in and out.
The fantasy sells a lot better at these events that we have. We have several fantasy authors there, and they always do it good, really good.
Yep. Let me just tell the Facebook side of the Brood. We're gonna start on time tonight.
The Wilsons haven't joined us.
Correct, they have not, but they said that they're probably going to.
Okay, cool.
Debbie and I will probably have to jump out at some point in time because we still need to practice our first dance today.
Cool.
Oh, and eat dinner. Nice. We haven't done that.
Oh, no. Debbie said she wanted me to bring my recipe for the jumbo pasta shells and whatnot.
Yep.
Okay. Should I do chicken enchiladas while I'm up there too?
I'm okay with that.
Okay. If y'all just, I'll bring like a 10 and just pass it around and run to the grocery store here and there.
So you're stealing my thunder there, but I'm going to have thunder elsewhere as far as cooking because I do that too. I'm like the sneaky good cook. You know what I mean? Like everyone doesn't realize it until I cook something.
What's your like the things you do?
Like I'm the guy who makes a lot of yes ma'am. Yes ma'am. Talk amongst yourselves.
You got like
that's the issue.
You figuring out your technical stuff, Aaron?
Uh-huh.
I saw something. Yay,
yeah,
we can see Aaron.
Discord did not have permission to use my camera, and that's why it wasn't working. So I had to go into permissions to fix it.
Where are you at?
Mountain Home.
Well, I know that, but you're not inside. I was expecting you to be like inside. And your beard looks better, dude. Your beard doesn't look as bad.
This looks better?
Yes. What?
Got some beards popping off in here.
It's finally tolerable. I mean, Alex looks immaculate right now. Like he's got the post pre-wedding glow going on.
Thanks.
Do you have some beauty filter on? Because it sure kind of looks like it.
Yeah, no, like it really does. I guess it's just like the
good
beard.
lighting right here.
I mean, the beard's lined up too. Everyone's.
All right, Brendan's here.
Everybody on this call has a beard. It's very fun.
Oh yeah, everybody does.
Debbie's on this call. She doesn't
now,
unless you count yours.
Now it is far more beautiful.
Now you ruined it, Debbie.
Less bearded.
Proportionally speaking.
Hello, Brendan. Good to see you, friend.
It is
introduce you guys to Marty. Marty's here. He is a friend met through doing his book. I'm doing the audiobook for him through Amazon. So he does historical fiction along with some other stuff. Cool writer guy. So,
Brendan, do you want to see the room where you will be staying?
Sure.
It is not done yet, so don't get too scared. But this is the room.
Am I staying at your place?
Yeah.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah.
so am I. So is a
This
bunch of
is
people.
this is
And
Yeah.
Darren.
we're gonna have like 10 dudes staying in the same house. This might not be the best idea, but it's
Probably
the
not.
idea that we're
Fine.
going with.
What do I need to bring?
Need to get some bunk beds then.
Aaron will work on it when we
I'm
get
good
there.
with the
No,
floor.
we don't
We
have any
went
bunk
before.
beds, but we do have. We've got that bed for Brennan and Kirith. They get the bed, like actual bed. Then we have a futon that will be able to sleep one comfortably, and then we're just going to fill this room with air mattresses.
Okay,
So,
this is gonna be
Yep.
interesting.
yep, and we have one bathroom. Survival of the fittest.
Oh, okay.
It'll be fine.
Hey,
Hello,
Kira.
Kirith. Good to see you.
Debbie wants to say hi to Kira. You're on, Debbie. He said hi, Kira. But
Oh.
hopefully, we'll have a functioning shower by the time you guys get here.
You'll get it,
Oh, no.
man. You got this.
Y'all get a local like YMCA just in case.
Yeah, we do have. We have got local YMCA and like a actual crap ton of truck stops.
That works.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
we'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll work. Okay,
But-
we're gonna get started here in just a second. Let's see who has something so far. We've got a bunch of people. Brendan, do you have anything to read tonight?
I was just going to do the short intro to Oberon.
Okay, excellent. Let's go. Kira, are you bringing something tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, you are. All right. So we got 2 so far. Daniel, do you have anything, or are you just hanging?
I'm just gonna hang. The next little section, it's not quite done. I've had to prioritize work and stuff.
Yeah, totally, not a problem. Aaron, do you have something you're gonna read or no?
I may be able to, but I might have to pop off randomly at any time
Yeah, not a
and not be
problem.
able to come back afterwards.
Okay,
So,
well, just
may or may not be able to.
keep us aware. All right. Alex, how about you?
We have had no time to read anything, let alone write anything.
I figured. Okay, and so Marty, do you have something that you
However,
want to
we
read
are
to the
going
group?
we are going to need to jump off. I will
Yeah.
try to jump back on later.
Okay,
but,
okay, Alex.
can't
Yeah.
promise anything.
I guess if anything, I could talk about what I'm trying to write and where I'm stuck, and maybe y'all can try to push me along.
Yeah, if we have some
But-
time, we can get to that. Marty,
I mean,
let me ask Marty. Marty, what do you think? Do you have something that you're going to want to share?
Yeah, I've been working on a new story about Battle of New Orleans that sort of about 3 Cajun teenagers. I got sort of the epilogue I might share with you. See what you have to think.
I gotcha. If anyone can't hear anyone, you do have Discord settings to turn people up or down for yourself. If you want, just right click the person and you can drag their volume up or down. Also, one other thing for people, there is a soundboard option if you run across it. It sort of looks like a little megaphone. We have some fun, goofy sounds for the chat, but also this one right here is titled Clip It. You'll see that little icon pop up. That's just a little indicator for me that you thought this was a highlight of the episode and that I should clip it for the show for shorts and things for like TikTok and whatnot. You don't have to do that. Just totally an option if you want to help the show. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Marty, do you feel like going first or would you rather someone else do it? I'm giving you first right of refusal on going first?
If somebody else wants to go, that I don't want. I'm the newcomer. I don't need to be the first guy up, but I'd be happy to if nobody else wants to go first.
Brendan, how do you feel about it?
I mean, I can. It's short, though.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah. 1 second. Since I might have to leave at any time, I'm not going to specify the reasons why. It may be reasonable for me to go first.
If you have something,
You
yeah,
have
by
something?
all means, you can go ahead if Brendan's cool with it.
I'm okay.
All right, go for it, Aaron.
Ian's here.
Welcome,
right.
Ian. And TK, probably.
Permission.
Oh, hold on.
Ah,
He's got entrance music. No
he
webcam,
does.
though.
Now I have three: Scott 107, Solarium Traveler, and Chaotic that are just still haven't shown up as an image yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see them. Sometimes it doesn't come through depending on your internet speed connection, but yeah, I don't know. Hello, Ian. Good to see you, man. Doing okay? Good to have you here.
I have a headache, but other than that, I'm fine.
All right, well, hang in there. Aaron's about to start reading something, and he's first one tonight. So go ahead, Aaron.
Should I sit down on this random suspicious lawn chair?
I love random suspicious lawn chairs. You know what?
Well,
it could you know what it could double as?
Soapbox! Soapbox! Soapbox!
No.
I'm just saying. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, anyways, is the video started yet?
Yeah. I
course
start
it is.
recording and then I decide where I'm going to edit the beginning. So it's fine. Don't worry about it. Just go ahead
Okay.
when you're ready.
Okay, so having moved recently and not having access to my computer, most of the stuff I've written I don't have access to. And I probably wasn't going to share anything, but in Little Dollar General, I found this little notebook, and that kind of inspired me. So this is not going to be my normal story, but it is related. It's actually written from the perspective of one of the main villains, and I would describe it as the Confessions of a Dark Lord or Dark Lady. So it's called The Raven's Book. And
do I know this character, Aaron?
Yes.
Marty, Aaron and I are brothers, and we're trying to co-author an epic fantasy novel. And so a lot of that's
yes,
what's happening here. Aaron, do I know this character?
yes, you do. What do you
Okay.
think the Raven is?
The witch, Eden.
No, Eden. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. Same diff.
Okay. So I'm just going to read probably just the first part. It is about 1,000. What I have so far is about 1,000 words total, but I probably won't read all of it. So, let's see. The Raven's Book, Chapter 1, The Harp of the Void. In the beginning, the seven worlds were not perfectly aligned. They are about as close as they are today, each week nearly as long as the week of today, but the alignment was not perfect. I realized that if I wished to make a perfect calendar, it was my duty to perfect what was skewed, for it was in my power and my power alone. So I realized that I needed to set every one of the seven worlds in a perfect chain of orbital resonance. But I soon realized that if I attempted this work unaided, it would be tedious, imperfect, and likely no better than before. So, in order to create a more perfect structure, I called on the other elders, and Viv and Vivaya and Vitukadar assisted me. This is maybe a bit confusing already, but this is like the creation narrative, basically.
All the
Vivaya,
options that are shown when you do a click on an individual, one of them is focus this person. What does that do? Does
That
make
that
one
that
base-
that le-
image?
that just lets you look at someone versus another person, basically. That's all that is. So
Yeah, it's basically like think of it like a digital magnifying glass. You're like, let's see what they're doing, and
Yeah.
you get to see more in detail what their picture.
The reason I ask is because I have several that are still trying to load. I was thinking, well, maybe if they start speaking, I can click on focus on this person, and then that might come in the image. I don't know if my internet speed is too slow to get everybody.
Yeah, I don't know
images
either.
It's all
and
good.
anyway, continue,
Yeah.
Aaron.
Yeah, so I just realized I probably should have added a bit more explanation at the start.
Right, just
This
so that
character
folks can get
is
those.
the space controlling character, the space controlling elder. And so this
Now,
story
I'm gonna
starts
move
with her
everybody down to the bottom of the screen. I can
this
click
story starts with her creating the calendar.
focusing on Joshua, Eclipse.
If you Marty, if you want while Aaron's reading, it would be good for you to mute just for the sake of listening purposes and everything for the show.
Oh, is he reading? I can't hear him either.
Oh, okay. Well, if you can't hear him, if you right click his image, whether it's him or just the image, Scout 107, there's a user volume lever, and you can slide it up or down to turn him up or down individually.
Yeah, it's right at 100%.
You can go more than that. You can boost it further. 100% is like the normal volume. You can go past that all the way up to, I think, 200. Yeah. So.
All right. So.
You drag it to the right.
I guess I'll
go ahead, Aaron. You're fine.
All right, I'll continue. So, to continue. Viv Vaya, being the most musically talented of the elders, was the first to recognize that I could achieve these resonances I was seeking through music. So, commissioned by myself and Viv Thaya, Vitukadar, the smith, created a 7-stringed harp, and this harp was tuned perfectly by Viv and Viv Thaya, so that each string was tuned in accordance with the path I desired each planet to follow. For 7 months, I, Viv, Vivaya, and Denauya sang and played instruments on top of the Tower of Turgos, the Tower of Seasons. During this song, each elder played their own special note and poured their power into the 7 worlds. This is the reason that many powers are tied to singing the true tones, and why singing these notes within the 7 worlds is never without effect. After I did these things, I wrote down the true calendar so that my children might benefit from these things more fully. Then the 7 worlds were completed, and then Haza was born, and long after these things occurred, as you know, I added details to this story to aid in my rebellion. For when Denauya first tempted me and placed in me the desire to become Elder Queen and to overthrow my own son, I saw that the other elders, most of all my own husband, was not inclined to follow this plan. At first I lied and said that Vitukadar the smith had assaulted me in his impatience and claimed it as payment for his service and for the Harp of the Void, even though we did not know what payment was in those days. Because he had already rejected Denauya, his wife, by this time, I thought this lie would do my cause no harm. But Viv and Vithaya, in their humility, reasoned rightly and saw that I was utterly forsaken, so they rejected me. After this, my lies multiplied, and I added Viv to the list of my assailants, and Denauya and I went further by even claiming that Viv and Vitukadar exchanged the 3 of us, the 3 female elders, among themselves. We called Vithaya a complicit victim, but in truth, she was faithful. By trickery, I created proof that Haza, the king, was the illegitimate son of Vitukadar. Then Kagera arose in his anger and took his place at the head of the faithless, and he made war upon Haza and his elders. And in this war, the 7 worlds were broken, and I was left as the queen of the remnant. And I'll stop there.
I got you. More of the Silmarillion-y kind of stuff. I think I got most of it. I'm enjoying it as far as just world building related goes. What do you got there? Toasty Cheez-Its? Casey's got toasty Cheez-Its. So that's nice.
Party snacks for your
Party snacks for my party. Oh, for this party. Okay, cool. Anyone want some Cheez-Its? Okay. Thanks, Casey. This is Casey, by the way, Marty, and everyone else knows Casey, so.
Hello.
He said hey. So, alrighty. So, any other thoughts on what, I feel like Daniel's gonna know more than we do as far as all this goes. Any other thoughts from anybody?
You have my full attention.
Very. I was just gonna say it's very Old Testament sounding.
Yeah.
Like you're definitely taking language there, which isn't a bad thing. It's just an observation. It's something I noticed about your other work also, like other things that you've read. You tend to, well, I don't want to say lean on that, but it is something that you use effectively. So
it's almost like we grew up in a KJV only house.
We basic.
No, but even like even KJV like has like there's variations even in non-KJV, like just because you're dealing with like Hebrew grammar sort of and the way that the story is told, right? But anyway, yeah, no, it's good.
Other thoughts,
Sorry,
anybody?
All right.
So I picked up on, I know Eden, she's one of our main villains.
Yes.
You mentioned that she is the more musical of all of them, which I've...
No, the fifth elder, Viv Thaya, is the more musical.
Okay. I did sort of my eyes whenever you go in more of the world building stuff. My eyes kind of glaze over a little bit, but I can tell it's good, and I need to visually see it to connect with it more. But yeah. Okay. So yeah, no, I was a little bit lost in some of it, so it can be a little bit grandiose and hard to follow at times. But I mean, that's probably just me. I gotta read it and I gotta listen to it for it to connect.
Yeah, part of it is that it's an in-world document, so that it's being written with the idea that the hypothetical audience that's supposed to be reading it would have more contextual information than the average reader. So it's like, it's not supposed to be perfectly understandable without context, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not a novel.
This is basically for our ears only kind of thing.
Not exactly. It's I think it will be good to include, but maybe it could be something that we use for like epigraphs, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: the in-world document as a method of as storytelling thing is super common. Epistles, the original Bram Stoker Dracula, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. You can find all kinds of stories told from the perspective of someone in world writing to someone else. That's super common, and actually it can make the world feel more real because you're not explaining everything, and you don't need to. You let the reader pick up on information that is just common knowledge. So you could totally have this be a story, right? A novel, as it were, if you want, and just have this be either a section of it or have it be for example, R.A. Salvatore writes the Drizzt novels. He set in the Forgotten Realms. He always starts most of his novels, or not his novels, most of his chapters with a little blurb written from Drizzt's perspective as like this little diary thing.
An epigraph.
In the Vlad Taltosh series, I think can't remember which one. I want to say it's Dragon. But in that book, each chapter begins with a section from a scene in sequential order. So if you read the beginning of each chapter, you will get the entire scene. But you don't understand what's going on in the scene until the second to last chapter when the scene happens. So you can do all kinds of things where you like shove that letter in the beginning of your chapter, then tell a story, then shove another letter in and tell a story. Sorry, Dan.
Yep. You're good. I just checking in. Marty, can you hear everyone?
No, I can hear you. I can hear Joshua. I think I can hear somebody else because I have a little microphone on his screen that I could mute if I needed to. But Treg S. Scott, I don't have a microphone there. And Scott 107, I didn't hear him read anything.
So he's saying he can't hear. Yeah.
Okay. So you can't hear my brother Aaron at all. Scout 107. Okay. Gotcha.
How about everybody say something and I'll tell you which ones I can hear. Call out to Chaotic Sun.
Hi, I am the Chaotic Sun. I'm also known as Brendan. I was the person who was just talking not 5 seconds
so he can't
ago.
hear Brendan. Okay.
How about Joel?
Hello. How you doing?
Nope.
Nothing.
He may need to hang up and call back. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe if you
Solarium?
Solaria is on mute right now.
They're in the same room. They're in the same room, and so
Kirith and Brendan, Chaotic Sun and Solarium, they're in the same room. They're husband and wife, so she can't unmute because it would cause issues.
Maybe if you try hopping out and then hopping right back in.
Yeah, that might be the best option. See if that works.
Okay.
While we're doing that, I think we got some good stuff from Aaron. Joel, good to have you. Things are going pretty well so far. Oh, excellent. Hello. Good to see you. I forget her name. What was her name?
Amanda.
Amanda. Good to see you, Amanda. All right. So Joel, you'll be sharing tonight, yeah?
Yeah, I will.
Excellent. Fun. Okay. So we got several more. Okay, Marty should be jumping back in at some point, but we'll see. Anyway, while we're working toward that, who would like to go second? Brendan, I was on you, but you can decide whether or not you want to wait.
Sure, I'll go. That's fine. I'm not offended. This is a time I'm doing. I don't know. Isn't it cool to be offended nowadays?
I'm offended.
Oh, now everybody popped up.
Now everybody popped up. Awesome. Okay, yeah, you can turn your webcam back on if you like.
Sometimes it does help if your internet's not too good to leave your camera off.
That's true.
So that might be what has been hurting you.
Okay, let me try.
You can see everyone now.
And see if it.
You should be okay.
Yep, I see you.
I'm still seeing everybody.
Okay, well we'll see. We'll see if it hangs in there.
We'll see.
All right.
Well, if he sees everyone, I think he can probably hear everyone. So okay, Brendan, you're gonna go next.
I would like to.
Okay, go for it, man. Just so Marty knows and Joel knows, or do you want to introduce what you're doing again? I know you've done it 100 times, but go ahead.
I will reintroduce. It's fine. So I am writing a script for a Netflix style serial show. I hope to have it be animated. I hope to overwork it so that it is beautiful and people cry their eyes out. It takes place in a fantasy world. There's a pseudo Narnia-esque element where characters go to a alternate world called the Feywild. There are all kinds of fairies and other such things. I'm going to be drawing from folklore and stuff like that. More importantly, the two main characters are an angel who fell, not fall like fallen angel, but literally fell out of heaven and became mortal and now needs to and wants to find his way back, and an herbalist whose village is affected by this blight on the land that is causing crops to wither and become sickly and making other people sick from eating the sickly crops. So they are those are the two. They're trying to find a cure for the village and to bring the angel, whose name is Aram, but he won't be in the scene, back home. The herbalist's name is Eva. Eva. I can't remember. Eva. Yes, that's right, Eva. Because because every time I do the closed captioning, it spells it AVA, not EVA. Anyway, this scene that I'm going to be reading is close to the end of episode 2. And it's when Ava meets the Lord of the Summer Forest, whose name is Oberon. Ava is escorted into the I did leave, sorry, backing up. I put the PDF in the Green Dragon Taproom if you wish to read along. It's starting on page 15 in document, page 16 of the PDF, because the PDF counts the title page as page 1. So there you go. Scroll. Hold on, I need to help my wife. Scroll up.
Oh, here.
Yep, and then you scroll down to the thing, and then you can download it.
Oracular pig.
Oh. Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you.
Who is oracular pigging me?
I was saying Kirith is dealing with an oracular pig. Anyway, that was me. Anyway.
I see.
Yeah, go ahead. Anyway.
Okay. By the way, this is written in script format, so it is not standard novel. There are going to be all kinds of things that don't make sense. That's why I do recommend reading along, just so that you know what the heck am I saying and why am I saying it in a weird way. So, interior. So on page 15, about like beyond the paragraph and a few notes. Interior Oberon's throne room night. Ava is escorted into the grand hall. Description here. I haven't written that part yet. Oberon looks 40-ish, sits on his throne. Oberon is taller than all the other Fae by a number of heads. Though he looks human mostly, he has curly red hair with 2 ram's horns curling out from underneath. His features are more pointed, including long pointed ears, and he has a split cloak made of leaves. The leaves near his shoulders are green, but as they go toward the ground, they turn into a mixture of autumnal reds and golds. As Ava enters, Oberon perks his head up. He looks intently at her, not what her, at her. The guard who walked her in steps in front of her. Guard 1. My lord, I present to you the human herbalist. Ava nervously steps forward and, kneeling while looking down, holds out the beaker with the flowers in it. Ava, shaky, completely unsure. This is all I had to offer, my lord, sir. Oberon, in one amazingly fluid motion, seemingly glides off of his throne as large branches bring him down to the floor. He quickly goes and takes a knee so that he is closer to her and gently takes the beaker of flowers in a vine that emerges from the sleeve of his garment. He smells the flowers, and as he does, they bloom wildly into large petaled versions, though they somehow stay within the beaker. Oberon. This is, without a doubt, one of the greatest gifts I have ever been blessed to receive in the past millennia. Ava looks up at him, and we see him beaming down at her. Oberon, I thank you, O daughter of man. You bring me hope for your kind. Myrddin steps forward. Myrddin is an older-looking man. My lord, these flowers come from your forest. You could have chosen these for yourself if you had wished. Oberon, my dear Myrddin, do you not see the arrangement? Do you not appreciate the purples and the golds mixed with the orange from the autumn dragon? And all of this put in the simplest of vessels that was made and used for healing. She did this, as is the gift of her kind. He moves over to his throne and places the beaker on the side table that is totally there. I don't know what you're talking about. Oberon. Furthermore, she has made all of these decisions within but a few moments of meeting me. A meeting, may I add, that she was terrified of, and rightly so. He winks at her. She kind of acts terrified, but also bashful involuntarily. Oberon. It would not only be uncharitable, but insulting for us to receive a gift and not return one in kind. My dear, you are clearly out of your depth, so to ease the burden of your countenance, I shall answer 3 of your questions. He lowers his rather long arm to her and helps her to her feet. Rise and receive your gift, fair maiden. Ava is entirely taken aback and kind of confused about the whole affair, as she has been this entire time. Ava, I'm sorry, what? Kiwi, who is a little fairy thing, whispering in her ear. He wants you to ask him 3 questions. Ava, okay, sure. How do we get back to my world? And that's all I've got. This is mostly just an introduction to Oberon, actually written in.
You have a little bit more than that, but it's not actually like completed yet. Like as far as how the scene's gonna end and stuff.
Yeah,
which I love.
The rest of the scene, the way the rest of the scene plays out, she asks how to get home. Oberon tells her, then he goes, why do you want to get home? And she says, well, we need to return my friend to his home. And he goes, oh, you can't get to his home from your home. You have to go to this mountain. She asks about that. He tells her about the world, blah, blah, blah. Then the angel character who's been busy chasing a fairy that stole his shoes crashes in with the fairy like in a chokehold. Insults the Lord, fights his entire guard by himself, and just as they're about to come to blows, Ava uses her last question to ask the true name of the Fey Lord. And the Fey Lord has to give her the answer, and he laughs the whole time going, okay, you win. I didn't expect you to actually ask that. So you did it. You beat me. You can go. And that's how they are able to leave. So that's a quick summary for everyone else. In case you weren't here last month when I did the outline.
That was a really good summary, bro, of the rest of the scene that you're working on and everything. That was really good. You've got it. You just got to write it. So.
Yeah, I know I got to write it. I've been a little busy.
Yeah, I know. But thoughts from people for Brendan.
I know it's
Come
not
on,
much,
folks.
so
Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
So it may not have been looking like I was paying attention, but I find it easier to listen to other people talking if I'm drawing. So
very nice.
Nice.
All right. So I just wanted to let you know. I was you had half of my brain.
Yay. You only need
I'll be honest. I don't know how much of my brain you got, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough, and I'm sorry.
It was good. I thought it was well written. Oberon, I could literally see that character in my head doing those things that you described him doing. It was like, it was like, you ever seen the Hellboy movie?
Which one?
The second one.
Yeah.
That's what I was picturing pretty much.
Wasn't my intent.
Did you have something, Joel?
Yes, I did.
How I pictured
I was going to say, first off, I love the character, the way he's using the vines, almost like the Force, to manipulate things.
Yeah, I like
thought
that
was
too.
really cool.
Did you say using the divine almost like it was the Force?
Use the vine. Vines. There was a vine that came out of his cloak.
Vine. Gotcha.
Yep.
Sorry. I really liked how he acknowledges that she actually put effort into the gift, and she was scared, Didn't take it for granted. That's pretty nice. So yeah, I like the outline. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
I like that.
Yeah, go ahead, Ian.
I like that too, how you describe the sort of awe that she has when meeting Oberon.
Marty, I think you were going to say something too. Did you have something?
Well, I was going to say I enjoyed the reading. I could see what you're picturing, what you're painting there. Of course, this is not, like you said, a novel. It's more of a screenplay format. But I could see. I didn't see quite the image, devil-looking type image that the other fellows saw, but I pictured a more benevolent fellow.
Thank you.
Good,
yeah.
Good to have you here, Abigail. Brendan just read. We're giving feedback for him. Good to have you here. Are you going to be reading tonight?
Hi, everybody. No, I don't think so, because I'm still working on my stupid project. I'm so behind. But I'll be here for a few minutes just to hang out with you all.
Sounds great. Chime in if you feel like it. Go ahead, Daniel.
Soldiers of inspiration, brace yourselves. It's time for a quick commercial retreat.
Are you looking to turn your book into an audiobook? Look no further than Joshua David Ling, your go-to professional audiobook narrator and producer. With his captivating voice and state-of-the-art equipment, Joshua delivers audio experiences that will keep your listeners hooked from start to finish. Using his top-of-the-line microphone, Shure SM7B, and professional audio editing techniques, Joshua ensures every word is crystal clear and every emotion is perfectly conveyed. Whether you're crafting a thrilling novel or an insightful nonfiction work, Joshua's versatile talents shine through. From character voice acting to technical narration, Joshua's expertise covers a wide range of genres and subjects. He's worked with respected names like Founders Press, Ian Wilson, Freddie Morales, and many more, proving his ability to meet and exceed client expectations. But Joshua offers more than just voice. His collaborative approach means your vision stays at the heart of the project, resulting in an audiobook that truly represents your work. Ready to take your book to the next level? Contact Joshua David Ling today at joshuadavidling@gmail.com or call or text 770-814-1849. Don't let your story go unheard. Let a true bard's voice bring it to life.
Attention all creative forces! The Poets at War Creative Network is calling you to the front lines of faith and artistry. From our command post, we're broadcasting a different strategic operation each week. The General's Report, poetic essays from the trenches of Christian creativity. Creators and Crusaders, interrogating the finest minds on the artistic battlefield. Poetry Bootcamp, forging the weapons of modern epic verse. The Broodcast, our covert gathering of literary commandos. And stand by for special deployments, Burnt Marshwiggle, navigating the theological quagmire. And Jubal's Wardrobe, sonic and visual artillery direct from HQ. The war of ideas rages on, and we need every creative mind on deck. Tune in every Friday to join our ranks. Your orders are as following. Be your family's bard. Do not turn to the right or to the left. And the Lord will be with you wherever you go. We'll see you in the trenches on the Poets at War Creative Network. Welcome back, valiant soldiers of inspiration. The front line of artistic warfare on Poets at War.
I typically always think I have less prepared than I actually do. And then I realize, oh, my manic obsessive episode led to like a couple pages at least, or more, often more, typically like 3 chapters. There's something there. I can share is what I'm trying to say.
That's fine. Sounds good. Okay, so we got him added in. Anything else for Brendan before we move on to our next one? Ian, yeah.
I was going to ask who was going next.
We'll get to that. Anyone else for Brendan? If you want to go next, Ian, that's fine. I can probably do that.
No, that's all right.
Well, just really quick, using some of the machine learning to create just scratch images so that we can have something to pitch to people. Because I am going to have to pitch this to people, we created by we, I mean Joshua and I created a quick image using that description of Oberon. I threw it in the Green Dragon tap room.
If
you want to see
it, yeah.
what it's actually pretty close. I imagined him with a more pointed chin, but that image is a pretty decent look of how he looks. Just, you know, my idea behind Oberon was that he would have little pieces of all the fairies that we saw up until this point, but he's so much larger than all of them. But anyway,
and he's very pretty.
That's not super important, but it was there. But yeah, no, I knew this was short, so I wasn't expecting a lot of feedback, but thank you guys for listening.
Oh, great. Okay, so Ian, you want to go next? You can. I'm happy to let you. You're champing at the bit.
Raring to go. I've been looking forward to this for like 3 weeks.
Get it, bro. Rock and roll.
So I've got two things. So I've been reading my children's novella, Heart of the Stars, for the past couple of months. I had to do a major rewrite to the first 2 chapters because the narrative just wasn't making any sense anymore. Like, people were doing things that were just nonsensical. And I couldn't go on. I know it's a first draft and you're supposed to finish the first draft. I just couldn't go on with it being like that. So I went back and completely rewrote chapter 1. If you'd like to hear that, or if you want me to pick up where I left off, or I can read something completely different. What do you want to hear?
I'm okay with
go ahead, Daniel. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, it probably helped me to start back at square one, and now I can actually feel like I know what you're doing.
Also, Joel and Marty have not been here. Yeah. Okay, chapter 1 it is.
Chapter 1.
All right, Heart of the Stars, chapter 1. Dark. Darker than a moonless night in the Green Mountains. A darkness so thick, Eddie Small could almost feel it. It was like being smothered in a black sheet. And within that blackness, things moved. Eddie got the impression of some huge spider-like forms moving in the darkness. Not that he could actually see them, but somehow he knew they were there, crawling in the dark. Eddie hated spiders, almost as much as he hated Thorwald Van Horn, but that's a story for another time. He couldn't move, like he was a fly caught in a giant web, and the spiders drew nearer, venom dripping from their hungry fangs. And then he awoke. With a blood-curdling scream, Eddie roused to full consciousness. With a sigh of relief, he realized he was in his own room. His cat, Fred, stood at the end of his bed, eyes wide with terror, back arched. The poor fellow must have had quite a shock that his favorite human would awake so suddenly and so violently at this time of night. In burst Eddie's father, Dr. Andrew Small of the University of Vermont. His face was whiter than a powdered sugar donut. In his hand was a sword. Dr. Small, in addition to teaching astronomy, was also an expert swordsman and owner of several blades. Truly a Renaissance man was Dr. Andrew Small. Behind him stood his wife, Edith, armed with a somewhat more conventional weapon, for this day and age, a baseball bat. "What's the matter?" asked Dr. Small, brandishing the sword. Nothing, replied Eddie. "Just another nightmare." Andrew relaxed. Sighing in relief, he sheathed his sword. "Did you really have to bring that thing?" asked Edith. "Dear, a man who goes into action without his sword is improperly dressed," replied Andrew. "Big talk for a man in checkered shorts," retorted Edith. Turning to her frightened son, she said, "Spiders again." "What was that?"
I have a sound button for clipping stuff. It's just to remind me to clip that for social media.
Notable. Whenever anybody says something notable, fun, that would make a good sound bit or clip for TikTok or social media, he will do
Also, other people have access to that soundboard. Yeah, like Daniel just did. So anyone who wants to use the soundboard to clip something, you can. Or you can just say, clip that, and I'll try to do my best. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle. Anyway, turning to her frightened son, she said, "Spiders again." "Yeah," replied the frightened boy. "I wish they'd stop happening." "I know, honey," said Edith, brushing the boy's russet hair. She was silent for a moment. "I'll be right back," she said, quickly leaving the room. Now, by the way, this is actually based on personal experience. I used to have terrible nightmares about giant insects.
Right up my alley.
"What were you even going to use that sword for?" asked Eddie to his father. "Oh, you never know," said Andrew. "Monsters in the closet, dragons, space aliens." Eddie gave a small chuckle. Edith returned a moment later, bearing some sort of necklace. "Your father gave me this on our wedding anniversary," she said. "It's part of a meteor he collected on an expedition." Eddie looked at the object, eyes filled with wonder. She placed the rock on in the boy's hand. "It's a symbol of our love for each other and our love for you," said Edith. "Whenever you feel afraid, hold it. There is no fear in love." "Thanks, Mom," said Eddie. Okay, it's frozen. Sorry, it froze up for a minute. Edith gently kissed the boy on the head and left the room. Fred, having gathered that the excitement was over, curled up next to the boy. Briefly petting the feline on the head, Eddie returned to slumber, dreaming of running through the woods and fighting dragons and other things that 11-year-old boys dream of. Fred, meanwhile, remained awake, standing watch over the lad, as was his sworn duty. Fred was no ordinary cat, but that was a secret he had kept to himself. Indeed, due to his immense size and coloration, Fred more resembled a tiger than anything tame. Fred was the only one who knew Eddie's dreams were more than dreams, but due to the unfortunate circumstance of being a cat, he had no means of warning the family that something terrible was about to happen. It was exasperating, but it was his duty to stand his post, and he would sacrifice all 9 of his lives before he allowed anything to happen to Eddie. Now we have a break. The state of Vermont is not known for having perfect April afternoons. More often than not, it's either snowing or worse, freezing rain. Spring comes rather late compared to other parts of the country. I know you're probably shocked by the fact that there are places where snow is not only possible but likely in the month of April, but this is the case in much of the Northeast. In fact, it has been known to snow occasionally in May, but I digress. This was one of those extremely rare, ideal April afternoons. The sun was bright and cheery. The temperature was warm enough that one could go out in a t-shirt. The birds were singing. This was to be a day unlike any other in Eddie's life. This was the great American solar eclipse. Eddie had been anticipating this day for the past year. He had inherited a keen interest in astronomy from his father, and pursued it with great enthusiasm. Dr. Small had prepared everything. He had procured a number of eclipse glasses from the university, and he had purchased a special lens for his camera. He had been talking about it non-stop for days. One could practically feel the excitement radiating off of him. Edith had even baked special eclipse cookies that resembled the ring of fire of the sun passing behind the moon. Finally, the time came. Andrew had set up a picnic area in their backyard and invited several friends and neighbors to watch the event. There was a festival atmosphere over the party as guests milled around, talking, laughing. Fred mingled with the guests, looking around the ground for dropped scraps which he would then devour. Andrew's stereo blasted Gustav Holst's The Planets. The scent of burgers cooking on the grill filled Eddie's nostrils with delight. A welcome voice came from the front gate. "Permission to come aboard, Captain," said the voice. Leaping to his feet, Eddie ran to the gate and opened it for none other than his best friend, Bucky Towns. "Permission granted, First Officer Towns," said Eddie, with a stiff salute. Bucky grinned. "I've been looking forward to this for a week," he said. "Bucky, you're here," said Edith. "Have a cookie. No, take 2. I made plenty." The boy eagerly took 2 of the cookies, gobbling them down with gusto. "Look what my mom gave me," said Eddie, taking the meteor fragment from under his shirt. "What is it?" asked Bucky. "It's a fragment of a meteor," said Eddie. "My dad found it on an expedition." Bucky looked in wonder at the object. "Can I hold it?" "Sure," said Eddie. He removed the string from his neck and handed the fragment to Bucky. String, it should be chained. Bucky turned the fragment over and over in his hands, then handed it back to Eddie. Dr. Small peered at his watch. "Oh, it's time," he muttered. "All right, everyone," he said in a loud voice. "The moment we've all been waiting for. Eclipse glasses on." The whole company donned their special eclipse glasses. Andrew pressed the record button on his camera, and all stared up in wonder at the astronomical wonder above them. I used wonder twice. I'm sorry about that. Just as the eclipse reached its totality, Eddie felt a strange warmth from his chest. Removing the glasses, he looked down at the meteor fragment. He gasped. The fragment was glowing with a warm orange light. "Bucky," he whispered, elbowing his friend in the ribs. Lifting his glasses, Bucky looked at the strange marvel before him. The fragment was indeed glowing. The boys stared at it, spellbound, almost forgetting about the eclipse entirely. As the full light of day returned, the glow wore away, and the fragment returned to its normal color. Eddie and Bucky were flabbergasted. What was it they had just witnessed? "What just happened?" asked Bucky. "I don't know," said Eddie. "That was the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life." Hang on, I lost my place. "Wait till you look in the mirror," said Bucky. The boys laughed. These gentle barbs that marked their relationship for some time now. They knew each other well enough that these meant virtually nothing to them. "Did you tell your parents?" asked Bucky. "Then they'll just take it away," said Eddie. "What if it's dangerous?" asked Bucky. "I don't think it is," said Eddie. The boys sat there in silence for a time, simply acknowledging the strangeness of it all. Fred had taken note of what had just occurred. This was the moment he had prepared for. While he was anxious to get matters underway, he also felt sudden dread. Things were now set in motion that could not be stopped, and he was only a cat. A very, very special cat, but a cat with feline limitations. Still, he had a duty to perform, and he was going to perform it to the best of his ability, whether or not he was up to the task. "I'm telling you, Batman could do it," insisted Officer Stapleton as he drove down the dark street in his squad car. It was a cool, dark night. A light breeze whispered through the budding maple trees that lined the street, telling tales as old as time in that darkened landscape. "You can't just answer because he's Batman to every argument," contradicted Officer Ramirez. "It's not possible. He's just a guy." "He's not just a guy. He's Batman," argued Officer Stapleton. "I can't believe you," laughed Officer Ramirez. "He's the whole reason I became a cop," said Officer Stapleton. I know," said Ramirez. "You grew up watching the TV show, and that made you thirst for justice." "Affirmative," said Officer Stapleton. "You need to grow up," said Ramirez, rolling her hazel eyes. "Never," said Stapleton. This was yet another argument he and his partner always seemed to have. Who was the best superhero? They argued this one a lot. They also argued about politics, police policy, environmentalism, you name it. But at the end of the day, they always had each other's back. Suddenly, the intrepid police officer threw on the brakes. A massive black, hairy shape walked out of the woods and into the roadway. Putting the squad car in park, Officer Stapleton jumped out of the car. flashlight in hand, shining the white beam of light into the darkened trees. All he saw was a huge black form, and what appeared to be 8 glittering eyes peering back at him. He backed away, cold sweat dripping down his face. Returning to the squad car, he sat down in the driver's seat, heart pounding. "That was some bear," said Ramirez. "No way that was a bear," said Stapleton. Words of Ian are ended.
There you go. Well done. Well done, sir.
Oh my goodness. I
So
will say,
hold it. Before
ahead,
anyone says anything, I want to explain my writing process. Basically, this is the first draft. You're getting it raw, unfiltered. I haven't edited it. I haven't done anything. I worry about story first, and then I worry about the little grammatical things, sentence structure, he said, she said, those types of things in the second draft. So, yeah, I know there's stuff that's off there, and I'm going to fix it later. I'm just worried about the story.
Yep. All right. So, who wants to go first talking? You were just talking, Daniel. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I found it amusing that he had a story that features night terrors and an eclipse.
Oh yeah, there's that. Anyway.
Yeah. But no, I really like that family dynamic in the beginning. That definitely reminded me a lot of growing up, waking up everybody in the middle of the night. And yeah, it's just, yeah, that was fun. Did the cat's name is Fred?
Yes.
Fred. Okay.
Fred is
cat.
legendary.
Yes, he is. Like, he is the main character in my mind, in my head canon.
He wasn't even in the outline.
Yeah. Well, he's the best character. He's the only character.
Other thoughts? Anybody? Yeah, go. Yeah, other thoughts. Brendan. So muted.
Brendan, you're on mute.
He's getting it.
I'll just go because he's having technical difficulties.
Okay.
But I really liked the
Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead.
friendship there. I really like the friendship between Eddie and Bucky. Like that, that's
They
really
were the
fun
cops,
dynamic.
right?
No, that was the two kids.
Oh, okay.
So, I do have thoughts. And Polish salt mines level of salt, usual warning. Personally, I would have hid the fact that Fred is an all-powerful being, or at least phrased it as like I like the lines of he is just a cat, right? Those are funny, but I wouldn't put that necessarily in the context of that he is a more powerful being yet, and then have it later be revealed. I think that might pack more of a punch.
I feel like he's a cat. He should have an ego like a cat does. He should think he is an all-powerful being.
But he is an all-powerful being. So revealing it early...
I know. But like present it like it's just him, but then later we can be like, oh, he actually is.
However you want to do that, I think that is... that's one suggestion that I have. I kind of liked your Bucky and Eddie playing and doing all of the Inigo Montoya Wesley references on the playground from your original draft.
Oh, that appears in chapter 2.
That's coming in chapter 2?
That's still there.
That's in chapter 2. It's still there. Good. I couldn't get rid of that. I'd sooner cut off a finger.
Fair enough. Understandable. The other thing is, I really liked adding the scene of the arachnid arriving after the solar eclipse with the cop car. Obviously, like I know how you say like this is definitely going to be something for editing, but I would just look at what scenes you've got and make sure that you get the order of the scenes right for the most punch, if that makes sense. Right? But you don't have to handle that now, obviously. Again, that means really my one suggestion is maybe don't reveal that the cat is more than just a cat, but keep the lines of, but the cat could not do anything, for he was just a cat, or something.
or potentially you could actually have it to where you're going from like slowly revealing it over the course of, or could he? There were ancient secrets, you know, and like slowly each time there's a little bit more of a hint. Anyway,
every time you introduce, every time
either
you
that or make it. Sorry. Either
No,
that or
go
make
on.
it like really a cocky, like he was only a cat, unfortunately, or make it like
was he?
Or yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Fred almost, for me, it reminds me of the goodness, what's the squirrel in Ice Age?
Scrat.
Scrat. Like it's not the same personality at all, but it is the same sort of sidebar story that happens throughout. Yeah.
Joel.
So I think it would be cool if the entire story, you don't know for sure if it's just his cat ego or if he actually is the superpower thing all the time until the end. You know,
personally, I like the idea that it's played up that he's a cat with an ego, like a cat should have an ego. He thinks he is hot stuff. And
okay, do you want me to reveal some lore now?
No. This is the fun of like not knowing about the cat. This is why I want you to slowly build it. But go ahead, Abigail. Or Kirith or whoever was speaking.
Gonna say, I think I like that he's the cat's revealed as he's there to guard him. He's a little bit more in the know. No, he's a special cat. I like to have that.
Oh, she's cutting out.
First chapter.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out, Abigail.
Why is special? Why is he there? That's it's. I know. I don't know why. Hold on. Let me try moving closer to something. Is it better?
Okay. Possibly.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me better?
I think so.
Okay. Well, no, I was just saying. I like his that he's definitely there to keep an eye on him. Eddie, right?
Yes.
Let me just say really quickly, Marty's been here waiting quite a while. I'm gonna go with him next, just so everyone knows if that's cool. He was here before we started and everything, so I'm gonna do Marty next. Marty, you can be prepared. Go ahead with Brendan. What are you saying?
Joel has a comment.
Joel, go ahead.
I had a couple comments on the story.
Go ahead.
So first off, I think it'd be really cool if the cat had already used one of its lives. Like you say, I will give all of my 9 lives. Say, I will give all of the 8 lives I have left. Giving
That is awesome. I love that.
Yes.
That is great.
I love that.
Yes,
so,
indeed.
I agree with the other comments about the cat. The slower reveal might be nice. As far as the lunar thing or the eclipse goes, I was picturing a lunar eclipse, which would make more sense since it's night.
No, it's the middle of the afternoon. This was the Great
Middle
American.
of the afternoon.
The scene with the cops takes place later at night.
Oh.
Yeah, the spiders can only come out at night. They can't. They cannot do sunlight at all. So if they come out, it's only at night. So I couldn't have them coming out.
Confused if it was an eclipse and it looks like it's dark to them. Would they come out then?
Yeah.
Okay.
They might come out then, but no, it's the scene with the cops takes place that evening. I can't really reveal that much lore right now because none of you all want to hear it. But basically, the eclipse is what wakes them up, essentially.
I'm not telling you can't reveal stuff. I was just giving you my opinion.
So I wasn't here, but I did listen to it on the YouTube, and I like this version a lot better than your first version. You're getting to the action. You're keeping people's interest a lot better. The eclipse was new. The spiders coming on in the first chapter, just a little peek at them. I love it. It's bringing people in more. It's making them want to read more. I think that's a very good decision. And introducing Bucky a little earlier, I think, was also a good idea.
All right.
Thank you.
Are we ready for Marty's story?
Oh, hold on. I did have one bit of feedback.
Oh, Abigail, gotcha.
Before I disappear. Then I think that you could, like for that first scene where Eddie wakes up, I think that a few more like intense like sensory details, like the feel of his blanket bunched under his fingers, and like looking at things on his walls.
Ideas.
Yeah, just looking at his walls to distract himself. Like, okay, there's a poster of astronomy facts, stuff like that. I think that would make it like really feel very intense. Kind of.
You could focus on
really
his
ground you in that
paralysis.
character.
Daniel, let Abigail talk.
No, I'm just saying it would be a good focus on the character, like really make it feel real and present.
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Daniel, would you make some notes and then send them to me in Messenger? Thank you.
All right.
Okay, I gotta go. Bye-bye.
All right. See you, Abigail.
Bye,
Thanks for
Daniel.
tuning in. All right. Marty, you ready to rock and roll?
Sure. Let's give it a try. Basically, this story that I'm working on now is about the Battle of New Orleans. And I wanted to go from a previous story that Joshua is working on narrating for me is about Virgil Caine. And you all probably remember Joan Baez's song, The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down. Well, that story tells Virgil's life story before the war, during, and after the war type of story. Anyway, this one here, he's going to tell the story for his grandpappy that used to tell him this story every year while he was a child. So this is just the epilogue to try to introduce the ideas and refresh people's memory about Virgil Caine. So here it goes. My name Virgil Caine, and I am no stranger to grit and the steel of war. I guarded the Danville-Richmond trail line during the hellish time when the North and the South was at each other's throat. But that tale's for another evening. Tonight I'm going to spin a yarn about my great-grandpappy, Malachi Caine. I am. It told it to me many a time when I was just a young'un, he did. See, old Malachi was a drummer boy in the Revolutionary War, serving under Colonel Andrew Jackson himself. But that ain't the tale I'm going to spin neither. It's about the War of 1812 when we Americans faced off against them redcoats once again. But not the whole war. This here's the story about the Battle of New Orleans. Only it ain't Grandpappy Caine's story. It's about 3 young Cajun teenagers who found their way into his unit. This is their story. Picture it, if you will. New Orleans, all caught up within that whirling chaos of war. These 3 Cajun kids, they were thrown right into the thick of it. But that infants, no. They was made of sterner stuff. With that bayou blood running through their veins. Them kids, they took to soldiering like gators to the swamp. And when that battle came, they fought like devils, standing shoulder to shoulder with the rest of those Jackson men. Through the smoke and the chaos, they held their ground, them Cajun kids did. And when the dust was settled, they were still standing. Now I know some would look down on them just 'cause they were Cajun and young, but let me tell you, in the heat of battle, none of that mattered. All that mattered was the fight, and them kids, they did their part. And when it was all over, they earned the deep respect of the whole unit, Pappy Caine included. So there you have it. This is a story of them three Cajun teenagers who fought the Battle of New Orleans. It ain't the tale of generals or great strategists, but it's a story worth telling nonetheless. After all, wars ain't fought by the big names in history books. They're fought by folks like you and me. And sometimes young Cajun kids with a fire in their belly and steel in their spine. That's the epilogue.
I'm digging it. It's sounding good, man. Looking forward to doing Virgil's voice for that for you, and when you get to it and we get everything scheduled for that. But I really like the little crack, even though they were Cajun. It's kind of like, yeah, there's always kind of been a little bit of a feud across the Mississippi both ways. And so I like that he said that. It wasn't mean, it wasn't, insensitive or something, but it was kind of like, yeah, even though these guys over there were over there. that's very Southern way of kind of a little backhanded, like, hey, So yeah, that was good. Other thoughts?
It was very conversational. Like, I was sitting here nodding at you like you were telling me a story, and I was like, wait, no.
Yeah, I'm going to write it in first person. So Virgil's going to tell this whole story in first person.
Definitely kind of gave off
Oh, sorry.
Okay. It definitely kind of gave off vibes of like sitting on the back porch with my grandpa, sitting some sweet tea as he's telling me like war stories from World War II and whatnot.
That guy's name, Uncle.
Yep. Other thoughts? Anybody? Brendan, Ian, Joel, Kirith?
I'm trying to think of the guy's name who it reminded me of. The guy who wrote Brer Fox and Brer Rabbit.
Uncle Remus.
Uncle Remus, that's it. Gave me that vibe. I like that you're taking it in the direction of we're taking it from this big battle, but we're seeing it through the eyes of these young people. That sounds like it's going to be interesting. I feel like you were a little repetitive with that, though, because I think you said it like 2 or 3 times at the beginning and then at the end. But other than that, it was pretty good, and I'm looking forward to hearing more of it.
All right. Aaron, did you have something? You popped in.
I didn't hear many details on their deeds of bravery is the main thing I was going to say.
I think those are coming probably, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
okay,
just
so this is like, this is
the
beginning. Okay, this is just the openings, but this story's about them.
Yeah.
All right.
And it'll be about them before they get into it, the rumors of what's going to happen. They don't have a whole lot of experience, so they make their way through the bayous and meet up with some different characters in the bayou that help train them and get them ready for what they're going to do. His great uncle is one of the pirates that helped during the war, so they meet up with the pirate ship and will help. It was a British supply ship that they attack and disable. And anyway, it goes from there. They finally get into.
And my final question are these characters in a historical setting, or is this based off of some records that you know of?
So these are fictional characters that based off that the war actually happened. In fact, it happened after War of 1812 was settled. One of those things where the records didn't get down to them in time.
All right, got it. Sounds good. I have to get back to other things.
All right, sounds good, Aaron. Okay. Anything further from Marty before we move on to our next? And does anyone want to be our next?
Soldiers, prepare for a momentary ceasefire. It's time for a commercial interlude.
Hello, I'm Sarah Levesque, Editor-in-Chief of Logo Sophia magazine. I would like to invite you to explore our Pilgrim's Journal of Life, Love, and Literature, both in visual format and in podcast format. Our goal is to help bridge the gaps between different Christian denominations and traditions. Please visit our website at logosophiamag.com to read or listen to stories, articles, poetry, and more, all for free. We look forward to journeying with you.
In the heart of Atlanta, a city teetering on the edge of chaos, 4 extraordinary individuals rise as the guardians of Atlanta, an unstoppable force against the encroaching shadows. William Crusader Avery, a knight with unwavering faith, leads this divergent team, joined by Cirrus Cyclone Jones, a weather controller gifted with angelic power. Bobby the Great Phantasma Carter, a master illusionist capable of bending light itself. And Amira Mira Kadru, a seemingly innocent young woman with the ability to copy powers and knowledge. As part of the coalition of underground resistances against global empire, Courage, they stand as city's last line of defense against political machinations and ancient evils seeking to plunge Atlanta into darkness once more. Brace yourself for a thrilling journey into the world of Courage universe, where epic poetry meets superheroes in Guardians of Atlanta, an electrifying serial releasing continuously in ebook, MP3, and animated video formats.
Soldiers, rise and march forward. We've returned from the commercial front lines to resume our poetic campaign on Poets at War.
Or Joel?
no,
Joel, did you raise
Joel.
your hand? Yeah, why don't we do Joel?
I did. Either way.
Go for it, Joel.
I would like.
Brendan, hold on, Brendan. Brendan.
I would like the record to show that Kirith does wish to share.
Oh, Kirith does as well?
It's short.
I'm good being last.
You got a short thing?
Kirith has a short thing.
Is it cool if Kirith goes first, Joel?
All right.
Of course.
You unmute and unmute both the laptop and yourself, and I will mute both mine.
Go whenever you're ready, Kirith. Take your time.
Okay. Okay, here we go.
Give a little background. This is the Disney.
Yeah, but I want to see. Yeah, so this is my. I think the name so far that I have is Honesty and Deceit is the name of my story, and it's a how do I describe it? It's basically there's a country where supernatural beings help the humans and are in sort of this like symbiotic relationship, and they can sense the potential in a human like from the time they're born of whether they'll be the best leader or not. Now they can see the best potential of leadership skills, but not whether a person will be good or bad. But basically, at the point in my story, 4 of those like chosen babies have been or will at some point there's been a lot of murders of the future heirs of these chosen ones, but then my main character Tovi, when he's 18 he gets chosen, like something shifts and changes and he gets chosen. And so yeah, and then his cousin Meep, she because of all the deaths, she pretends to be the heir, and so that the people who are trying, because people aren't sure, my idea is that people won't be sure who is the mastermind behind all the death, and so Meep is trying to draw out the mastermind by pretending to be the heir, and she's not doing it to she's doing it to protect Tovi is my main character. So yeah, I'll start. Trees here in Kyoto grow twice as tall as an armor dweller's raised neck and as broad as a house. And since the ground is too dangerous to live directly on, we build our homes in the stack home trees. Falling from a stack home tree can be fatal for us humans because the sky is not really our domain, and gravity beats us unless we have the right aid, regular or supernatural. Our way of life probably wouldn't have developed in the trees if we didn't have the skyers, large birds that 3 humans can fit on. Legend has it that a Blankian, I haven't thought of the name, Blankian observed a skyer and learned how to live in the stack home trees. The skyers would lay their eggs inside the trees, and multiple pairs would lay their eggs in the same tree trunk, but on different levels. Unlike humans, the skyers don't care about developing tools, but they do care about hunting for their young and building strong nests, and so people still learned how to develop tools in their environment. People built doors and stairways and ladders and safety nets. Some contraptions can catch rainwater, replacing the need for some way to get river water to flow up to all the homes at the top of a tree. Certain fabric can catch wind and lift you into the air and cause a fall to the ground to be survivable. Other fabric and materials can lift things into the air faster, so you don't have to carry heavy things up hundreds of stairs if you don't have a skyer or a strong human handy. I might be mentioning skyers to an annoying degree, but even though they are regular creatures of this world, they fly beautifully. They are challenging to tame straight out of the wild. Their teeth are incredible, and they might have inspired people in our region to care about family. When I was a young boy, I dreamed of having many skyers. Lord Tovi Atever, I imagined myself. But I was not a wealthy tree owner, and so I would never be in charge of even a single skyer. I am, however, very privileged to have the Malum touch, which means I can see, hear, touch, and speak with an Unyoya, a supernatural sojourner from beyond our world called the Malum. 7 kinds of Malum have formed a bond with humans in our country. Most people are not born with the Malum touch, and so are never able to touch or speak with any of the Malum. And those that that do can only interact with one kind, like in my case. As was my case. Only a Sahas heir chosen by the Malum from birth have the Malum touch for all 7 kinds. Since it's not a hereditary power, no king or queen has ever had a royal dynasty, and all 7 regions of the country has had a king or queen chosen from among any family, rich or poor. Just in the time before Queen Amaya, resentment towards this way of governing has grown, and people are beginning to doubt the Malum and despise the bond we have. Most people fail to grasp that Malum benefit from the goodness of human connection and care of the world, not the evil of humans. Though it definitely looks like they orchestrate a ton of evil. It's not just people with a touch who love and respect our supernatural allies. And of course, my mind.
Discussing this and they decided okay, and this is he's in the game here.
Sorry.
And so they need to find the blacksmith. And the blacksmith was
There's a family event happening, and everybody just came up from the basement. So, wait a moment.
They decided once they fix the right guy.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, Warren's phone. Keep reading.
Oh, well, I was almost done. Here's the last part I had. No, I think I'll stop there because there's so much more that I tried to write, but I couldn't really make it organized or anything. So that was just kind of to orient people to the context where Tovi's from and kind of give his voice, like an understanding of what his character is like slightly, but I've been struggling to transition from that to then like not just having him constantly explain, like tell too much, but like trying to reveal it slowly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joshua, you're muted.
I would definitely go with Joshua. You're muted, dude.
Was I muted? That's crazy.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I was just talking. Go ahead. You're fine, Ian. Go ahead.
I would definitely reveal things like the whole people being suspicious of the Malum.
Malum, yeah.
People being suspicious of that. I would leave that for like later in the story because you've packed a lot of info into that short chapter there. I would maybe cut that off and save that for later, or cut out something else and save it for later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would recommend the
go ahead, Joel.
you were talking about with the flying or with the hovering with the cloths, like parachutes or whatever. I would think instead of explaining that here, showing that later, like describing someone do it as the guy's passing or something like that, would A, be a little more attention grabbing, and B, it would help trim down the info dump a little bit.
Yeah, I found that I was getting a lot more information about the world and like their interactions with like the magic and the like the fantastical creatures and that sort of thing than I was like the character itself. Which that was just an observation. I wish I had like a thing to add on to the end of that, but that's what initially came to mind.
I think this is one of those world building documents where basically you're going to like write this thing out and then you're going to take pieces from it because it's good prose. It's very good prose, but you're going to write actions, not action scenes, but like verbal quote unquote scenes where a character is waking up and getting their breakfast and you're interspersing these thoughts and this exposition amongst also action, right? So this is good prose.
That's the
I'm
best
really
thing.
enjoying the prose. It just needs to be paired with an action scene later when you start to get to where you get the steps of the story going, right? The actual story.
Yeah, and
then you kind of overlay them.
Also, so it's almost like the opposite of what I've been doing in the Maiden's Child in my drafts, where I typically focus on like the sequential events of like this happened and this happened, they did this thing and they did this thing. It's almost just kind of the inverse.
Yeah. I guess in the fear of like leaving out too, because like I basically have dinosaurs in this story, and I didn't, and like if I just start talking about like I was worried about like the trees, like it's basically like apartment buildings, but like, and so I just didn't know how to, and I did plan to like not dump too much, but that it was a bit, I didn't quite know how to, I haven't quite figured out how to pair it with action, but
you'll get there.
More description of the forest area,
let's go.
Size of the trees and the density, that type of thing. Get more descriptive information about the forest area.
Yeah, I love all the sensory details. I could definitely I could see what was happening. Like that side of it I felt was really good.
All right. Yeah, Aaron.
The thing that really interests me is this idea of the kings and queens being randomly and magically selected. And I'm thinking of like the consequences of that and like the culture of what that would be. Just to give you some ideas, like if anyone might be the next king or queen, I would think that this kingdom would think it's really important to like teach everyone a little bit of civics and how to run things, because you don't want someone entirely unexperienced going into government. And since they don't know who it's going to be, they're like, okay, everyone's got to learn this. Or else they might new kings and queens might have to go through a crash course, and maybe the people who are in charge of education have a education of the kings and queens whenever they're selected, have like some higher levels of power than
There'd be
normal
just like,
family.
if anybody could be the queen or king, that would have just like a natural, like, you better respect everyone you run into, because like they could be the next top dog here.
Yeah, that's what I've been kind of struggling with that, because I was like, yeah, that would make it hard to have like a social hierarchy. But I thought
Yeah.
like if the chosen one, I'm calling them chosen one for now, but if the chosen one is chosen from birth at first, until my main character, if they're chosen from birth, then they would have been sort of like raised in the palace, and it would have been sort of this, the region they're from would have been like showered with gifts and so what I'm hoping to set up eventually is that like each time like a king or queen is chosen, then like that family like is like they're so focused on like each other and building up the wealth of, and that's where there's been a lot of bad kings that were skilled leaders but like not actually good, and so that's
Also,
set up
like,
this problem where
older aristocratic families always try and marry into the family of the new chosen one to try and maintain a class structure, maybe.
oh yeah,
Ooh, yeah.
Very nice. Well, let's see. We've got, I think, left Joel, me, and Daniel. I had Joel pegged for next. Are you still good for that, Joel? If there's anything more for Kirith, we can do that too. I was checking on Joel. Are we good, Joel?
I do like the world. That seems like a really cool world. I like the fantastic creatures.
It's really good. I'm gonna have to call it a night.
All right, man.
It was a pleasure.
We'll see you, man. You have a good night, okay? Thanks for coming on. We missed you.
I missed you guys too. All right. Good night.
All right. Good night. Okay, that changed that. Let's change
Maybe
back.
one day
Okay.
he'll hear my story. That's fine.
Okay. Joel, are you ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready.
All right, go for it when you're ready.
So last time Josh read for me, you had a young woman named Zoe running through the hospital, being chased by zombies, and she was saved by a guy named Fox. Now, we saw that from Fox's perspective, but what Zoe saw was this strange creature, because he has wings and he's wearing a helmet that's painted to look crazy. So she doesn't know what happened. And at the end of that chapter, she blacked out. So this is where she wakes up. A distant noise pulled Zoe awake, remembering the horrible dream she had been having. The hospital falling over, the zombies, that beast thing. What could have caused such a dream? I must have slept in. It was bright outside. Even without opening her eyes, she could tell. The warmth from the blanket made her want to stay in bed. The noise came again, a muffled popping, cracking sound from somewhere in the distance. She paid no attention. It was most likely construction. Rolling away from the window, she pulled the blanket higher. There was a sharp pain in her leg, and her shoulder was sore. I must have slept on it wrong, she thought, rubbing her shoulder. She felt a bandage. Zoe's eyes shot open. The beast was there, staring at her. It had been no dream. She froze, her heart racing. She held her breath. Only its head was visible, a few feet away. It sat unmoving, unblinking, just staring at her. After a moment, she forced herself to take a breath, staying as still as possible. Then she realized it wasn't breathing. It dawned on her that what she was looking at wasn't alive. Its features were painted. She slowly lifted her head an inch and let out a sigh of relief. It's a helmet. Zoe looked around the room. Zoe looked around the empty room. The familiar smell of antiseptics and disinfectants filled the air. Whipping off the blanket, she looked at herself. She found she was still in her scrubs. The pants had been ripped and her leg had been dressed and bandaged. Looking at the amount of blood on the sheets, Zoe realized her leg must have been cut very deep. There was a large bandage on There was a large bandage on her upper left arm, too, as well as dozens of small cuts and scrapes all over. On the floor was a bloody IV line. This caused her to look for a blood transfusion bag. She found none. That was confusing. The popping sound came again. It wasn't something she had ever heard before in the hospital. But she was more concerned with her leg. She considered looking under the bandage, then decided instead to try and put some weight on it. It hurt. This would slow her down. There would be an obvious limp for a bit. Nothing she couldn't deal with. If it's a really bad cut, will I do more damage? As Zoe considered this, her stomach growled. When did I eat last? She saw some sports drinks and granola bars sitting on the table next to the helmet. She grabbed a drink and drank half of it in one long swig, and started eating the jerky, thinking about what she should do next. She picked up the helmet and inspected it. Sorry, a bug flew in my mouth. The front was a very detailed painting of a four-eyed creature. It had some sort of animal ears molded into the frame. Looking closer, she saw what she guessed were microphones concealed in the ear, as well as several small camera lenses. Turning it over, she noticed a light coming from inside. The visor had some sort of heads-up display. Being curious, she put it on and looked around. From outside, it appeared that the visor had been painted completely opaque, but she could see through it with surprising clarity. The displays had many numbers telling her things that meant nothing to her. The only thing she recognized was the compass on the bottom. Red and green tick marks slid as she turned her head. The popping sound came again. This time she knew it was from her left and looked towards the sound. The display showed a green outline of a band holding something out a window, and numbers next to it that said 16YD. She understood. The helmet was showing her someone in the next room, telling her the distance. Someone shooting out the window. She was so surprised she almost didn't hear the voice. It is good to see you are awake. It was a woman's voice right behind her. She spun around, her eyes searching. The room was still empty. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to alarm you, the voice continued. Who are you? Where are you? Zoe said as she looked back and forth. I am not in the room with you. I am talking to you through the helmet. You may call me Starlet. The voice was kind and calm, but strange. Each word was punctuated with a singing quality. Okay, Starlet, Zoe asked slowly, trying to figure out the situation. What's going on? That is a too big question. With a long, complicated answer, Starlet said in her calming voice. Right now, we do not have much time. Please keep eating. You're going to need energy. What I can tell you is that most of the city has been corrupted. Zoe began to take off the helmet. She felt the latch and lifted the visor instead. She drank the bottle and began eating. Corrupted? Is that what they're calling the zombies? Can you still hear me? She asked between bites. Yes, I am still with you. I am not going to leave. The silence of the room had left her feeling alone and scared. This Starlet, whoever she was, may not be here, but her voice was having a calming effect on her. Can you see me? Zoe asked, trying to think of small questions that would help piece together the intimidating situation. When the helmet was off, yes, through the camera lenses. Now I see what you see. I have an outread of your vitals, and I know your position with a tracker. My job is to provide overwatch for our... Starlet paused as if searching for the right word. Field agents. Overwatch? I advise on the changing situation and alert to new dangers. I handle communications and coordinate between different units and HQ and arrange transport. Great. Can you get me out of here? That is what I am working on. Is that one of your field agents in the next room? Zoe asked, looking at the wall where she had seen the figure. Yes, that is Fox. He is our best and very brave. You are in good arms. You mean good hands, Zoe corrected. She noticed that while Starlet sometimes used the wrong word, she noticed Starlet sometimes used the wrong word. Having far bigger things to worry about, she didn't focus on it much. So what happened to my leg? You seem to have fractured the ankle when you jumped, and then you cut it on the glass, smooth to the bone. Your shoulder has a much smaller cut, too. It looks like I lost a lot of blood. Did I get a transfer? Fox. Starlet hesitated, her voice seeming to catch as she finished. Gave you his blood. Zoe was concerned with this change in the voice. Clearly he hadn't given all of it. He was in the next room, still moving. Her medical training led her to ask the next question. Did he know my blood type? Did he check? Does he have a disease like HIV? I believe that it did not matter. He thinks you are A+. He would not do it if he believed it would hurt you. Of course it matters. He can't just think we're the same blood type. I'm B negative. Zoe was getting worried. She was mad at this fox for scaring her and chasing her, and now for doing this reckless transfusion. He is O negative. You are a match. The voice in the helmet replied in a calm tone. Zoe took a deep breath, calming herself. Maybe he wasn't so reckless. She felt a little embarrassed for assuming these people would make such a silly error. How many stitches do I have? Do you think he bandaged it well enough for me to walk? She asked, thinking of the fracture and dreading the answer. She looked around for the needle and sutures that were used for sewing someone up. None could be found. With the building in its current state, neatness didn't seem like it would be on the top of Fox's priority list, seeing how he had just left the transfusion bag on the floor. You should be able to walk, but it may still be sore. You should eat all he left for you, the helmet speakers answered. Zoe didn't understand. This Starlet person seemed to think that her healing was directly related to how full her stomach was. Even though she had already eaten several snacks, she still felt hungry, so she finished them. She didn't ask any more questions. They seemed to know what they were doing with the transfusion, so she hoped they would know what to do with the cut as well. Besides, Starlet's answers caused more confusion, and she had enough to think about. She flipped down the visor between bites, getting used to the display. She watched Fox. He seemed to be climbing and jumping down through the building. Whenever he jumped, his wings would open, and he would slow his fall. Can't talk. Occasionally, he would stab or shoot someone. He made his way down a few floors, then began to throw something. It must have gone very far because it lit up in the HUD and flew off of her screen. Then he began to run, making his way back. Fox is on his way back to you, Starlet said. It is time to leave as soon as he arrives. There is not much time. Will he take me out of here? Zoe asked, flipping her visor up and drinking the rest of the drink. She was afraid he was just coming back for the helmet and would leave her to fend for herself. Yes, he is your rescuer, Starlet said, surprised by the question. To save you is the reason he came to you. I know he can be scary before you know him. You do not need to fear. You are safer with him than anywhere. You must do as he says without question, even if you do not understand. He will bring you to safety. Again, flipping the visor down, Zoe watched anxiously as Fox ran back to her room. She got up and tried to put weight on the leg. It still hurt, but she hoped she could keep up with him. As he neared the door, 2 red dots started moving. He shot twice, and both red dots fell. Hey, Starlet, what were those dots? They were the corrupted. You must avoid them, or they will consume you. Zoe was going to ask for clarification, but Fox had come to the door. She watched him nervously, waiting for her first glimpse of the mysterious man. He hesitated in front of the door for a moment. Is he nervous about meeting me? No. He must be listening for something, right? His shoulders rose and fell with a deep breath. Then he opened the door. She raised her visor and met his gaze. He looked at her for a long moment, studying her as if he was wanting to remember every detail. His ice blue eyes looked as if he was experiencing a small spark of joy in a lifetime of sadness. "Hello, Zoe," his voice said. She expected it to be gruff, but it was soft and filled with care. "How's your leg?" She was completely caught off guard. How did he know my name? "It hurts, but I think I can limp along," she said, taking a few short steps. She began taking off the helmet. "Keep that on," he said. "Having the comms will probably help. That limp isn't going to work, though. We need to run. I'm going to carry you, okay?" She nodded. He came over and picked her up. His arms lifted her easily and delicately, as if she was a porcelain doll. She wrapped one arm around his neck and grabbed his armor with the other. He carried her into the hallway, then ran up the stairs to the first floor. It was astonishing how fast he could move, even with her extra weight. She felt the wind on her face as he climbed the stairs at incredible speed. "Are we going to meet the helicopter on the roof?" she asked, flipping her visor down and looking to see if she could see one of the HUD. "No time," he said. As if to punctuate his words, a deep boom came from below them. The hospital began to creak and tilt more. As he came to the next door, Fox looked into the hallway. It sloped away from them and ended in a floor-to-ceiling window that was spiderwebbed with cracks. Through it, they could see how badly the lean had gotten. They were on the 10th floor, looking at the 4th floor of the building across the street. Everyone in the hallway had been knocked off their feet and tumbled against the far window. Inside her visor, Zoe saw a red light, warning that the building's structure integrity was failing. They could hear the metal studs in the walls groaning under the stress. In the room across from them, a patient reached for them, still attached to his dialysis machine, that now pinned him to the wall. He tried in vain to crawl towards them, grabbing and gnashing his teeth. Zoe was horrified, knowing the weight of that machine should have crushed him, yet he seemed indifferent to the injury. Fox pulled the machine out of the doorway with one hand, its wheels squeaking as it was dragged sideways into the hall. With nothing stopping him, the patient now crawled forward, more on the wall than the floor. As soon as it was through the door, it slipped. As soon as he was through the door, he slipped and fell down the hallway towards the window. Fox let go of the heavy piece of machinery and the medical. Fox let go of the heavy piece of medical equipment, and it fell down the hallway, following its corrupted patient. Still carrying Zoe, Fox ran after it. "Wow," Zoe mumbled to herself. "I thought he was fast on the way up. He might be able to outrun a cheetah going down." "He's not quite that fast," Starlet replied, thinking the comment was addressed to her. "But he's faster than any other human on this world." Zoe had forgotten she was listening. She didn't have time to think about how odd that comment was. As he ran, the creaking grew louder to a roar. Thunderous bangs and pops could be heard as several of the supports gave way. The building was leaning further. The HUD flashed red inside the helmet, and Zoe knew the building was falling. She feared that even if they got out, it would land on them. The large dialysis machine crashed through the glass, shattering the entire wall. The small group of unfortunate souls collected there spilled out into the air above the street. Fox was right behind them. He jumped. Zoe held tightly, hiding her face against his chest. His wings opened and he gave a huge beat that thrust them up and forward. They soared before the falling building. After all the speed, time seemed to stand still as they glided across the street, slowly losing altitude. She looked up to see things falling from many floors above them as the building stretched over them. Fox landed on a light pole, ran down its length, and jumped again. With another mighty thrust from his wings, he propelled himself to the other side of the street. He glided down and hit the ground running, making for a nearby subway entrance. The subway gate was locked. Fox wrapped one ring in front of them like a shield as he continued to run. Its transparent blue changed to a bright glowing red. Sparks flew as the wing smashed into the gate. It held for a moment. Fox pushed against it with all his might, leaning hard on the barrier. It seemed to glow bright orange as it heated up, then bent out of his way. He nearly flew down the stairs, taking several flights with each step. They descended into darkness. The lights had all been turned off by the impact, leaving only the emergency lights to light the way. I said light too many times there. As they reached the level floor, the hospital smashed into the street above with a catastrophic noise. Fox continued rushing forward. bounding over the turnstiles, then darted left, following the wall as it widened. He only made it a few large steps before the shockwave from the building overtook them. He fell to his knees, sliding across the ground to the corner. He wrapped them both in his wings, covering her with his body as against the dust and debris. The lights flickered. The walls shook. They were engulfed in darkness. And that's the end of the chapter.
I don't get to use that sound too often, so it felt like it was accurate to the scene. Well done. I really like the action, particularly the use of the dialysis machine. Those things are dang heavy. It was a good choice. Yeah.
My mom was a dialysis person, and she always was complaining about how hard it was for her.
Yeah, absolutely. Other thoughts from folks? If you don't know, this is a sort of Roland Emmerich style zombie sci-fi story set in modern day with aliens, both good and bad, coming down to mess with people. So,
is Fox one of the aliens?
Pardon?
Is Fox what?
An alien?
Fox is a human that has been augmented. Starlet is an alien.
And does he look like Fox?
No.
Okay, what does he look like?
He's a little taller and more muscular. What was that?
Attention, fearless warriors of artistic prowess. Take a breather as we navigate the treacherous waters of commercials.
I'm Ian Wilson, and I create graphic art using primarily traditional methods, supplementing with digital where it's needed. I use a real pen, a real paper, a real graphite to make my art. I like to feel my art. I've always been this way. I love the feeling of a pen or pencil in my hand, the sound of graphite scratching paper, and I love the sight of a nice black line making its way across the page. So why choose traditional art over digital? Traditional art has an organic, natural quality that seems to be missing from most digital illustrations. The illustrated books and comics that were made in the days before digital have an excellence and staying power that is just as vibrant now as it was decades ago. These are the stories that stay with you. Dr. Seuss, Winnie the Pooh, Where the Wild Things Are. People still read these. I'm currently working on my own graphic novel series, Legend of the Swordbearer, and I've also had the privilege to draw graphics for 2 motion comic series, along with illustrations for a small magazine, Logosophia magazine, and various book covers. Don't let traditional art fade into the dust. Help me keep it alive. You won't regret it. Visit my website at ianthomaswilson.com for more info.
Now is the time for your book recommendation minute with Alexander Robertson, the part of the show where Alexander Robertson comes out and recommends a book.
I was at the Fight Laugh Feast conference recently, and I picked up this gem from the Noggin Nose booth, where I was lucky enough to meet with the author. I expected that I would enjoy it. It was Doug Wilson's Book of the Month a while ago, but I did not anticipate exactly how fantastic it would be. However, before I continue with my praise, I probably ought to explain what exactly this book is. The Thing is a collection of 5 stories by Rivers Houseal. The subtitle is Short Stories of Things and the People That They Encounter, and it very much lives up to the promise of that subtitle. Each story is based around a meeting of thing and person and the events which follow. From a typewriter being found in the middle of the road by an aspiring writer, to a deformed potato found by a soldieress in the Women's Land Army amidst World War II, each story is beautifully crafted in every facet. The characters are believable to the point where I was convinced I had met many of them, and the form of the short stories so very well suited to these tales. It is a relatively rare thing for a book or story of any form to bring a tear to my eye, but multiple stories in this collection did. The themes of God's grace and sovereignty resonate very deeply with me, and the skill with which Miss Houseal works beautifies these themes and raises them to a level of glory which I have very rarely seen. This book is absolutely marvelous, and I recommend it heartily to everyone who has a taste for stories of any form. I'm certain that nobody will be disappointed.
In my part of the world, at least, to see a typewriter sitting in the middle of the road is not normal. But if I have learned one thing, it is that odd things do happen, and there it sat.
Furthermore, I was raised to know that when one spies a typewriter in trouble, one rescues it. So I did. Excerpt from Of When a Typewriter Was Found, the first story in this collection.
Soldiers, regroup and march forward. Let the battle of ideas reignite on Poets at War.
Sorry, cat jumped on something down the hallway. His helmet is painted to look like one of the aliens. That's what freaked her out. And he has...
that wasn't a cat, it was Fred.
Yeah, it was Fred. His wings are like force field style material. So they can go away or come back.
Cool. Yeah.
Starlet has neon blue fur, and she has two-tone eyes. One purple.
I think it was a really good scene. I will say that whenever Fox picked up Zoe, it kind of felt a little bit like a men riding woman moment, to be honest.
What?
A men riding woman moment. Not to say that she can't be light as a feather, but it felt a little bit weird how that moment was focused on. Like it was presaged. It seems like the way it was described, a few things that were described felt like it was, it seemed like a normal way to presage a future romantic development in a story. And I'm not sure if I would like that between these two characters at all.
Seemed more father-daughterly to me.
Yeah. And he's already augmented, so that's been established, so he could pick up anyone and it'd be that light.
Yeah, he's way stronger than most humans.
It's less to do with her, and it's more to just do with him.
Yeah.
One thing I will say really quickly, it's a very small thing, but you said something like his voice said or his voice spoke instead of just he said, and it feels needless. It just you had already introduced him, so it just felt a little extra.
That may have been me stumbling over my words.
yeah, totally. Either way, but that was the one negative I had. I really did like the scene. Other folks, other thoughts.
Hey.
Marty, Brendan, Kirith, anyone?
It's got a really big, like, grandiose vibe. Yeah, I was texting the Brood and stuff throughout, but even then, I was really, like, you can definitely just get the grand scale through, like, each, like, line is just, yeah.
You're
right.
just a good writer.
Yeah,
See,
that's all I'm trying to say.
My opinion is you're just a good writer. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. I thought everything smooth flowly. I thought everything smooth flowly and was very, very logical and thoughtful and didn't sound awkward to me.
Thank you.
Smooth
flow is what I'm going to go for from now on.
All right.
Maybe I'm just weird and I smooth flowly.
Yeah, just get your words mixed.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Daniels is next, and then me, and then I think we're gonna call it a night from there. Unless we had something I missed, which I don't think we did. Daniel's wanting some feedback if he can get it. He's been gracious and waiting because he's young and has time to do so, and just I appreciate that from him. I hope everyone else does too. He's letting other folks who do need to go to bed go first and that sort of a thing. So if you are listening and have not had a chance to tell Daniel what you think, good, bad, indifferent, please do. We're gonna go ahead with his. This is a part of his maiden child story. Sort of fantasy, sort of D&D world sort of thing if you haven't been here listening. But we'll go ahead and I'll just pick up where he told me to pick up and read through where he said.
Yep.
I read for Daniel because he's not confident in his narration ability, and it helps. So
pause. Yeah. Could we get a re-length of the Maiden's Child in the Green Dragon tap room or somewhere? Because Kirith really prefers to read along
Do you mind copying that section over to the Green Dragon tap room while I'm reading, Daniel?
Yeah. I could have sworn.
She thought
I read it one time through the Green Dragon.
Okay, so I need to just probably go in there weekly and just be sharing it.
By all means.
Okay. Let me.
While
Yes,
you're
I
doing
will
that,
go pull
I'll
that
start
up.
reading, okay?
Okay.
All right.
So it's going to be. Yeah.
All right, I'll start. Cold water jolted Leanna awake. What is that awful sound? Leanna whispered as she pushed the cold rag away. What sound, m'lady? Wiping the sweat from her brow and ignoring the growing hunger in her stomach, she assisted her into a seated position. A thundering crash were followed by an awful cracking.
Oh.
The leaves outside the carriage rustled furiously. Horses neighed, riders shouted. Something large, very large, had suddenly fallen in the road, blocking the party's journey. Halt! A man shouted from up ahead. Have we arrived? I'm afraid not, it goes, Malay, ... Leanna. Katira corrected herself. A mirthful smile spread across Leanna's face. This expression was suddenly replaced by a scream of horror as the side of the carriage was peppered with a volley of arrows. Katira felt a powerful hand pull her away from the door moments before. The cracking wood and metal was followed by the sounds of battle raging outside. Guard the damn carriage! Another man called out from amidst the fray outside. Coming in, loves? Maya announced her presence just as the door suddenly swung open. Have at them, boys, she screamed over her shoulders as she slammed the door closed. Oh, Maker above, send us your aid in our time of need. Katira couldn't remember the last time she prayed. She intended to correct that error promptly. Rin and Maya fixed themselves on either side of the carriage door. A flash of silver and with practiced grace, the women drew their blades from their sheaths. They will not touch you, my queen. And if they do, I will take much pleasure in avenging you. The women all turned to Maya. Maya, shut up. The carriage rocked suddenly and violently. It suddenly began surging forward. This relief was short-lived. No! Leanna screamed, terribly, sending Katira into panic. What's wrong, my dear? He's too early. It's going to be all right, Leanna. I promise I will take care of you. Katira slipped around Leanna and into her routine. Before she could continue comforting the mother, a firm hand clutched her own. Katira looked across Leanna's swollen abdomen. A tear trickled down Leanna's face as she slowly shook her head. The color left her face suddenly. Take care of him. The mother's head began to sway worrisomely. Stay with me, m'lady. The two women by the door watched in anticipation. Rin, get over here. We have to stop this carriage now. Of course. The women pounced into action around Leanna, offering prayers, soothing whispers, hands to hold, and following every direction from Katira as if they were heaven sent. Well, in a delicate sense, they were. Katira felt something deep within her spirit break. She'd aided countless women deliver hundreds of children, too many to recall. Something in the air of the carriage had suddenly changed. She didn't have a word for this feeling. Something has broken. We must hurry. Looking down at her palm, her fears were confirmed.
Realized.
Realized. Okay, it's fine. She realized her hands were covered in blood. There isn't supposed to be this much. She quickly wiped her hands on her apron, trying to stay calm. She knew she had to keep going, but her heart was pounding with fear. She had to keep moving. Sister, remember your oaths. Katira did her best to hide her tears and the shaking of her hands as she moved quickly to help Leanna and her son before it was too late. Leanna squeezed Katira's hand firmly. Take care of him, love. Take care of him. Leanna whispered faintly. Leanna. Katira croaked. "Milady Lyanna, you will not die before you see your child. You have my word." Then it just has a note, medical action, right?
Yeah, I'm still working on
You're working on that.
like,
Got
the
it.
science
Got
and
it.
how to deliver
Yeah.
that. So
okay. Got it.
Footnote.
Yep. Katira's hands began to shake. "You have my hand." Katira began to sob weakly, fighting through her tears as she continued tending to her charge. "What you bear, I also bear. You will see your son, my dear." Katira looked down at her hands again, and to her amazement, the blood was gone. She looked up slowly and found the carriage strangely, mysteriously undisturbed. And then there were 8. Rin's voice chimed calmly from the other side of the carriage. All right, that's what we got. Thoughts for Daniel?
So,
you want to follow up? Go ahead.
Yeah. So some of you are coming in new, haven't heard the story beforehand. That last line, and then there were 8. Since we established earlier on, in previous chapters, that there are these individuals called heralds, which are notable people have magical powers, have made bonds and oaths to these beings called elders, which have granted them magical abilities. And so we know that there are 7 so far, and then Rin, a notable herald, after all of this madness happens, looks, and now we know there are 8. So
What? Okay, I'm still confused.
You're still confused?
I'm still. Yeah. And then there were 8.
Yeah. So definitely needs. I guess I need to clarify more, but essentially, this is supposed to. He is wrestling with all these fears about what's going on, and it was. Oh goodness! It's supposed to be her in like almost like a trance of anxiety and fear, and through it.
I'm sorry, I briefly accidentally for some reason.
What?
I accidentally left for some reason. I don't know how.
You're good. Basically, she's being selected to be a herald, and I'm trying to represent that through magical means that takes place as a vision, which is her fears, her how she responds to it, and yeah, it's a work in progress.
And you're also not wanting us to know every single detail immediately. I can tell that. So it's a balance. I understand. Thoughts from everybody on the pros, on the thoughts. I will say this was not as polished as your last one, but like you said, you kind of wrote it in a hurry. But it's not bad. Like I like the visceral nature of the scene. That's something that you do extremely well in general, is just like everything feels really up close and personal in an uncomfortable way in these action scenes. And that's a really good thing. But yeah, other thoughts from folk.
So I had a couple of questions. So if I'm understanding the scene right, it starts like there's some sort of ambush, and then the carriage is taking off, and that's when she goes into labor, and so they're like, we have to stop.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it would raise the anxiety level just a little bit more if you mentioned what's going on outside once or twice more in the scene. Just like, and they heard an arrow whiz by or something like that.
Yeah.
Because once the labor happens, we completely forget about what's going on outside.
Yeah. So basically, it is very much unpolished, but this is kind of where I kind of hit a dead zone, because like towards the end, I had to say medical action, and rather than going into detail about what she was doing. That just kind of represented, generally speaking, all of the stuff happening around the scene on that lens. That kind of was a little overwhelmed. It's like, oh wait, I'm not as good at my science as I need to be. So,
I think that last little bit needs a little more clarification because I thought it was the baby that was the new herald, and you're saying,
ooh, wait, well, hold up, hold on. Well,
will we eventually?
All right, we'll think about that. Other thoughts from people?
we'll
Yeah,
think
or
about
no, go,
that.
Joel, you're not done yet. Go ahead.
If what you could do is have a bad guy pop his head up and like be about to jump in and be like, wait, what's going on in here? And then, get hacked down or whatever. That might give you that there's still a battle going on outside feel.
Yeah. I definitely want this scene to have a dreamlike quality because it's not supposed to necessarily be entirely real and what is actually happening on the outside. And so if it is a little confusing, that is in part of it. What I'm going to add on to the tail end is that Rin, she's this feline humanoid creature called a Felinor. And so she is using her like telepathic and empathic abilities to kind of get inside of Katira's mind and support her, encourage her, and to kind of work through some of the fears and anxieties she has going into what's happening and trying to encourage her in her own way. It is trial by fire in a way.
Yep. I think you're doing a really good job with the building the, oh crap, things are going wrong, given the reader anxiety, about, oh man, I felt the fear and the tension, and I felt the panic coming. Like, we're trying to keep the panic down, but there's a reason to panic. So you did a really good job with that. Next.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else have anything for Daniel before I do mine and we wrap things? Other thoughts?
Brendan is muted.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna need to head out.
Why are you?
So bye.
Okay, he's getting it. I think Brendan's gonna say
Yeah,
something.
I just have.
I
There we
don't
go.
know why every time I go to somewhere, Discord just completely disappears, and then I can't talk because I'm muted because I don't want you to hear the sound from my computer. Anyway, you have a very clear idea of what you want for your scene. I just hope that you get the editing time because you've got something really good. Like I want to emphasize you have something really, really good. It's like it helps that Joshua's reading it and plow through and not constantly apologize for good writing. But you've got good stuff here. I'm looking forward to seeing the together. I think it'll be a lot easier. What?
He said looking forward to the together.
Oh, to see the pieces put together.
Yeah.
I think that it'll be a lot easier. I don't know what the word is. To actually, it's hard when we're only doing one scene. Yeah. It's kind of hard. But you've got good stuff, dude. I don't know what you're freaking out about.
It's just that I'm trying to climb a mountain, and it's a big mountain, and yeah.
You need to read Plot Activity, dude.
I have.
Okay, then what's the problem?
Nothing. It's just acknowledging I'm trying to climb a big old mountain. It's just, it's going to take time. I'm moving a lot of pieces, and so the editing has kind of gone down as I'm studying for this exam and that kind of thing. But, like, I know I have something good. Like, I'll talk to the kids I work with about stories and stuff all the time, and you can just start seeing. It's just there's so much. Everything I've learned in the last few years is just started really showing up, and my worldview is really shaping, and that's shaping my writing, and it's just I'm loving it.
Everything's happening
I'm loving
at
the
once.
process. Yes, it's everything everywhere all at once. If you haven't watched that movie, do it. It's fun.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and read mine. One of the things that I have struggled with in my writing for a while now is giving more of a sense of place. And I've had this particular place in mind for one of my stories for quite some time. This is in my superhero world. This is my main solo character, the Worldwide Warrior. Some of you may have heard about it on some of the other Broodcasts. Some of you know it because you're my friend and you know, but I wanted to specifically go into and read this one because it is a very specific placey sort of scene, and I wanted people's thoughts on it, real feedback. And I'm not going to give a whole lot as far as the place goes, but I will give you a little background on the story so far. Braden and Rayan, Braden's sort of a superhero, but it's because of an object he carries, sort of like Thor. He's not supernatural in and of himself. It's a thing that he has, even though Thor has some powers. But he and his grandmother's 55, he's 20, so they're actually fairly close as far as that goes. They are going to Saipan to see a top secret place that is sort of a all-encompassing witness protection / retirement home for heroes place that's like really important to the cause of their main overarching organization. And this place is sort of the thing that they're getting to. Braden's cousin, it turns out, is actually running this place for their group, and he's never met her before. It's one of sort of a estranged family sort of a thing. Her name is Sigrid. And so that's basically what you need to know before we go into it. The only other thing is they were followed by a guy who ended up also being followed by several other agents, and they had sort of a tussle. And this guy is injured and sort of captured sort of with them, and they're taking him back to the sanctuary as well. He has told them he doesn't mean them any harm, that he's trying to run away and heard about the sanctuary. His name is Maxim. But that's all you need to know, catching you up to this particular moment. This one's called Sigrid and the Sanctuary. Sigrid had arrived with Courage agents. Courage is the overarching organization. Sigrid had arrived with Courage agents in the very nick of time. They took the man who attacked them as prisoner and brought everyone's plans back in line. This part of our story was a blur to Braden and Rayan and Maxim as they were driven back to the sanctuary to get some rest after their long trek. Braden was woozy during that time. He heard Rayan and Sigrid catching up. Also, Braden was nearly choked out in the previous scene, so that's why he's kind of woozy. Braden was woozy during that time. He heard Rayan and Sigrid catching up, but soon he fell asleep, both suddenly and abrupt. Sigrid's soothing voice felt like something from long ago. He relaxed and knew he was in good hands, his heartbeat now calm and slow. When Braden had finally awoke, he saw trees on every side. A weaving mountain pass bumped him awake, as he felt like he was surfing the tide. Sigrid laughed. "You finally awake? It's good to meet you, cuz." "You too, Sigrid. Are we there?" "Almost," she said with a dramatic pause. Suddenly their van approached a gate. It would be easy to pass it by. It was covered and camouflaged by thick kudzu, easy to miss with one's eye. It opened slowly as they pulled in, and Braden was now wide awake. What he saw took his breath away and nearly made his heart ache. The rusted gates creaked open, parting vine. The sanctuary slowly came to view, a mirage midst tropical design. Antiphron estate, both old and new. 3 centuries a sentinel it stood, its history deep as caves below that honeycombed through. The winding drive curved through the verdant wood. Each turn revealed more grandeur to the eye, while palm fronds whispered tales of times withstood, of Spanish rule and Japanese ally, of brave souls seeking refuge from the storm. Their stories echoed 'neath the azure sky. The mansion's white facade in noble form gleamed bright against the blue celestial dome, its terraces and arches ages worn. A fountain sparkled in its circular home, like liquid diamonds dancing in the light, contrasting tears and blood that stained this loam. The sanctuary wore its years with might, each stone and copper shingle a tale to tell, of resilience through darkness and through night. From Hacienda's birth to what befell, in World War's shadow and in times beyond, it grew beyond what founders could foretell. Now courage guided this haven as with a wand. Since 1975 it stood so tall, of human spirit it remained so fond. Its gardens manicured and peaceful pools belied the purpose humming through its core, a sanctuary for those whom fate oft fools. As Sigurd spoke of its history and lore, the silversmiths in awe before the gate felt reverence for what had gone before. More than luxury, this grand estate, a chronicle of Saipan's stormy past, a beacon for the future's brighter fate. So there we go. Thoughts, anybody?
Your prose that
Poetry, not prose, but yeah.
Yeah, poetry that I wish I could write like that. That is great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it wasn't too esoteric, but it was still enough to like create an atmosphere and something that you could actually visualize while still having all that atmosphere. Did I succeed?
Yeah.
Did I not? That's kind of my question.
I think it worked well. I enjoyed listening to it. And your unique style of that poetry, I'd never run across anything like that before, and I find it very fascinating, very unique.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Brendan, Joel,
Yeah, I really
anybody?
enjoy it. I have no talent for rhyming.
Do what?
I said the rhyming. I have zero talent in that, and I think it's great.
Thank you. Appreciate that. It wasn't too esoteric. You guys could kind of picture this place, right? Like, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a little too esoteric? Do you think it needs more detail? Mm-hmm.
It might have been a little better if I could like see it and go back and read that line again, you know.
Well, why don't I do this? I do have a picture. I'm gonna throw this in the Green Dragon tap room real quick, and you guys can tell me if what you saw in your mind's eye was anything like this. Give me just 1 second. Where is it? Here we go. And send. This is my picture of the sanctuary. There's more to the sides off the camera of the picture. This is just an AI image for myself. But yeah, this is Green Dragon tap room. It's chapter 1, second one down below Crier's post.
That reminds me of one of the old video games. What was the name of the darn thing?
It kind of makes me think of Far Cry.
Something like that. Nice picture though. I like it.
Brenda, did you have anything? Or Kirith?
We've worked on this. It's nice to actually hear what we talked about in planning, executed. I mean, I think your stuff is good.
Do you think it's described the sanctuary well? Because I've gone into detail with you about the sanctuary. You can be honest if you think it's too esoteric. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is it too esoteric but I want it atmosphere.
What do you mean by esoteric?
I don't want it to be like you can't picture the place. I want this to be a work double duty as a description and as a, like, you can feel the place with the poetry, like both.
I think you might be trying to bark up the wrong.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is the nature of poetry is, and you are relying, as with all written media, audio media, you're relying on the imagination of the individual consuming.
Right.
So I don't think it's too esoteric, but I also don't. But that's because you were I think it's better for you to focus on the feel of the place rather than on the look itself. You can get some important descriptions in there, but I don't think you need to. You don't need to. I think you would be a fool's errand for you to come up. Oh, come on, Discord! Don't do this to me.
That's okay. It's all right.
You come up with a layout and then try to immediately, trying to, with the limitations that you've got, make someone see what you see.
Right.
I think it's much better and more effective as a poet to make them feel what you want them to feel, because that's what your poetry is good at.
That's very helpful, actually. Yeah, thank you.
You don't need them to see that picture. You need them to understand what the place is. And the layout can be whatever they need it to be.
And I can make that a thing further and further poems. But yeah, Marty.
Will you be embedding pictures in this story?
That's not my usual way, but I eventually want to do some sort of visuals with it. Yeah. But that's on down the line. Right now, the main way is actually audiobook. That's kind of the main focus. But like I was saying, I can give more specific details in further poems. But I think he's right. Making sure that we feel this place is important. And I do think I accomplished that. And it seems like you guys think I did too. So, anything further before we wrap for tonight? All right, then. I'll just do the little send off here. If anyone wants to hang out, can. If anyone wants to go, they can go. But everybody, be your family's bard. Do not turn to the right or to the left, and the Lord will be with you wherever you go. We'll see you next time in the trenches on Poets at War.
We're lying, reaching, warning, yeah. Our imaginations run wild and free in Middle Earth or Narnia. There's magic in what we believe.
This has been the Broodcast on the Poets at War Creative Network, Inkling Style Discord chat, last Friday of every month. To join our ranks of writers and artists so you can share your works and skills, please visit joshuadavidling.com/brood.